Construction workers in the United States continue to have one of the highest suicide rates across all industries, and that's about 4 times higher than the general population. Construction is a challenging and high-stress profession with one of the highest rates of suicide in the nation. Rethinking the way our industry approaches mental health will have immediate impacts. Mental health awareness is one of the biggest opportunities to make a difference in our industry today. We need to shine a light on the importance of mental health. The safety and health of our workers, our teams, and each other is the primary goal of all MCAA contractors across the country. Everyone has a story. Everyone is dealing with things on and off the job site. It is important that we recognize that. The MCAA and our Safety Alliance partners at NECA, SMACNA, and TALK partner together to extend the awareness of 988. A national 3-digit suicide and crisis prevention hotline across the entire construction industry. When people call or text 988, they will be connected to trained counselors who will listen, provide support, and connect them to relevant resources. It's okay to not be okay.
My name is Brandon Anderson. I've been in the construction industry for 26 years. A number of years I've been a safety professional. I grew up in the industry, been around it most of my life. Being a safety professional has been a true blessing. To watch individuals professionally and personally grow and evolve is really rewarding. Over the years, throughout my life, I've also struggled with mental health issues, substance misuse, and addiction. I'm a survivor twofold, where I've lost more friends and family and colleagues than I have fingers and toes to suicide and addiction. I'm also a survivor from the standpoint that I've attempted twice in my life, once as a troubled teen and also once as an adult. But looking back, reflecting, I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't change any decision I've made or lived experience to be sitting right where I'm at right now, sharing a message of hope.
The unique aspect about the people that work in construction is that they come from all different demographics, all different walks of life, but they come together with a common interest and an investment into build America.
If you've ever been with a construction guy, we'll drive down the street and we're always pointing, hey, we built that, we worked on that, we were a part of that. That stadium, that field, that school that your kid's going to, just take an incredible amount of pride of what we do and the quality that we put into it. There
is a sense of camaraderie and solidarity, and it is so important because we spend so much time with the people that we work with that we don't look at them as fellow coworkers, we look at them as brothers and sisters.
There's plenty to be proud of, but it's a very stressful industry.
The constant pressure to do more with less under a very tight budget and excruciating deadlines.
We're gonna work where the work's at, and it's not always next door. One year you're working 10 minutes from the house and the next project's 2 hours away or in another state.
It's a tough job and people can get worn down and worn out.
The pressure, the physical pain, the loneliness, all of that can lead people into a dark place.
We lead almost all industries in dependency rates and opioid and alcohol abuse rates and divorce rates, and all of those things kind of snowball themselves into that beginning stages of anxiety and depression and the beginning of a mental illness.
Looking back, there's been a lot of reflection. How did I end up here? My childhood wasn't always the best. A broken home, although a loving home for the better part of it, was riddled with addiction, abuse in many forms. Growing up in that environment, in that household, the The thought of not being wanted weighed heavy on me as a young child and throughout my teenage years and adulthood. Definitely contributed to mental illness issues, depression and anxiety. Anger was my release. Moving forward in life, professionally, my career, I sacrificed my time with my family and my children at a critical age. I spent the first 12 or 13 years of their life on the road, long hours away from home to provide for them. With that absence caused issues in my marriage, and which turned into a divorce, followed by financial issues, compounding mental health and depression issues, anxiety and stress that just continued to spiral out of control and led to alcohol use that at times was excessive, some substance use, and it was challenging. And I wore a mask. I hid it. I was that guy. I was that happy-go-lucky person that most didn't know. Just shy of saying no one knew, except for me, what I was dealing with inside because of the choices that I made and what I put on myself, the experience of life.
Mental health and suicide prevention are probably the largest challenges our industry faces today, and it's really the largest challenge we've had for decades.
The data show that there are way more suicide deaths than job site deaths. So in any given year, there's about 1,000 job site deaths, over 5,000 suicide deaths. These deaths are preventable. We can get in front of this and we can start to tackle things head on.
Historically, and in my experience in my career, you didn't come to work to talk about your feelings, right? You checked your feelings at the door. The idea of asking for help because I'm struggling with depression or I'm struggling with an addiction issue or thoughts of suicide have manifested. We definitely don't ask for that. There's fear of shame. We're going to be judged. The guilt that, I'm not strong enough to deal with that.
The thing that makes you really good at this job, tough-mindedness, stoicism, decisiveness, perseverance, like you've got to have that to be able to do this work, is also the thing that makes you most vulnerable to suicide and overdose because you are least likely to reach out for support. What that culture tells you is to be self-reliant, to white knuckle it through, whatever the thing is, it's stress, it's pain, you just keep pushing. And that doesn't work well for any kind of health issue. We have to change that culture.
For us old school guys, if you were around 30 years ago, you didn't see a whole lot of safety glasses on. You were lucky if you saw hard hats on everybody out there. Won't mention the fall protection challenges that we saw, the amount of excavations that were unprotected. Those things are unheard of today. What we've never done is try to put mental health in that same realm, to put a focus on that, to let them know that this is something that's also expected, something that's needed, and it's just as important for your safety as that harness or anything else that you're wearing.
So construction has done it before, and we're going to do it again. We are going to change culture and save lives.
I found myself sitting in my truck in one of the darkest moments of my life, and having lived through all the self-talk of I'm alone, I'm not good enough, I'm a horrible dad, I've not been around for my children. I was convinced that there was nothing to live for, I wasn't worth living, I wasn't needed, my children didn't need me, and I had convinced myself that I was alone and no one really cared. Speaking from my own personal experience, I didn't want to die. That's not what I wanted. I just wanted the pain to end. And you're not thinking clearly about who that's going to impact. You're not you're not in a place where you realize that it's permanent for issues that in most cases are temporary. The one thing I would want anyone that watches this, the takeaway is you're not alone. That's the number one message. We in our industry have this mindset that no one else knows what my struggle and what I've been through. No one else has experienced that. That's not true. It's just not.
You can't get through this life without hitting some pretty major bumps in the road. And sometimes they get resolved pretty quickly. A fight with your partner, a disappointing work outcome. Sometimes they're gonna bring you to your knees.
Regardless of what struggle you're currently going through, we've all lost a loved one. We've all suffered from an addiction. We've all felt disconnected. We've all felt alone.
You have a team of people that will be there to help carry you when you need to be carried. They will help give you the resources that you need when you need them. They will be there and stand behind you.
You're not alone, and there is help out there, and people care.
My best friend, my childhood best friend, who was also in construction, took his life several years ago. Stress from work, stress from family, drugs, alcohol. He felt like he didn't have anybody there. He didn't need to be here. He passed away and his funeral was packed. Everybody at that funeral that was crying, I can't believe he's gone, they had his cell phone number. They were friends with him on Facebook. They knew where he lived. You got to get out and contact those people. Let them know that hundreds of people are there. They want you there. Don't wait until you're crying, telling his family, I can't believe he's gone. I promise you, the more people that reach out, the more comfortable these people feel. And it means the world to them to know that hundreds of people care about them.
Being that person and that support and that resource can make a monumental difference to a brother or sister out there.
One of the reasons that we push this conversation and we push it on an everyday basis is that we want to normalize this conversation. We want to make sure that this is an everyday part of our dialogue.
Amazingly, when we start talking about this, folks come out of the woodwork. Talking about it helps break down that stigma and that barrier of it's okay to not be okay.
The first time you hear that other guy that you thought was this big badass construction worker, and he truly opens up and shares his feelings, shares pain that he's experienced, that he's gone through, and you realize that you're not alone, that even the toughest amongst us has gone through these issues, have gone through this pain, it validates and normalizes your feelings.
If there's somebody on the job site that you feel is struggling with any type of mental or emotional concerns or crisis, the important thing is to approach it with dignity, empathy, and respect.
We're all entitled to bad days, but when it becomes a more regular, routine occurrence, we really need to step in. We want to catch people on their bad days, not on their worst day.
So the biggest concern that we have from employees when we do any level of training on mental illness or on this topic is, hey, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor. What if I say the wrong thing? What am I supposed to say?
This isn't about diagnosing anyone. It's really about compassion and caring. I mean, these are our family members, right?
Sometimes the hardest part is how do I approach this person? What do I say? So start off with an expression of care. I care about you, you matter to me. Second step, I've noticed. And then list specific behaviors, things you've noticed that have changed. So I've noticed you don't seem like yourself lately, and then what does that mean, Third thing, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's happening for you. And then just listen. Just listen with empathy and compassion. And if there are enough warning signs, even just a couple, it's important to then pivot to the possibility of suicide and ask that direct question. Are you thinking about suicide? Trust me, if you do it this way, you're gonna get a yes when a yes exists. And then you can help move them into connecting to resources.
Many of us on a job site will walk by and see somebody, a colleague or friend, and say, how you doing? How's it going? And it's, living the dream, or I'm fine, I'm good. But our mouths stop and our feet don't. We just keep walking. I'm asking, take 60 seconds, stop your feet, plant them into the ground when you ask that question and say, hey, how are you doing? And then actively listen to them, to be present in that moment versus, I'm staying in my lane. I've got blinders on, I've got a job to do. I don't have time for this. We don't have time not to stop.
The worst thing that we can do is nothing. Ignoring the problem, being uncomfortable, being afraid to go have that conversation. That's the last thing you ever want to be, is that person that chose not to engage, that chose not to ask the question, that chose not to have that tough talk.
If we can shed some light on people and allow them a place and a voice and a person to talk to, we can change lives.
Fridays, we were getting lunch. We were talking about, hey, let's all meet up in golf Saturday. And there was one particular gentleman who never, didn't want to do anything, wanted to be by himself. And I kept an eye on it. Finally, I talked to him, and he got very defensive, and nothing's wrong. And I could just see it. Everybody in the crew could see it. And so I went to the next step, contacted my boss, who went on and contacted the correct people to help him get the help he needed. And as we stand currently, he is getting help, and I am told he's doing very, very well. If that would have been ignored, and I would have been the type of, he'll be fine, he'll get over it, his family might be short a family member right now. It's very important that you do not let stuff like that go. Push for it, try everything you can. I understand it can be hard, and it can be awkward, and it can be frustrating, but make the effort, because I promise people will make the effort if you're in that situation.
Many individuals are out there struggling right now. And you may see this problem that's in front of you, whether it's self-induced or it's part of, just the environment you're in and your job or personal life. And you may think, this is never going to end. I'm stuck, right? I'm trapped in this hole. I'm trapped in this darkness or this challenge, whatever I'm dealing with, and there's no way out. And that's scary. I'm here to tell you there is. There is a way out. There are solutions. There are lifelines, if you will, resources available to you. You just got to ask for it.
One of the bravest things that you can do is ask for help and know that you are loved and valued.
We've seen so many people come from the darkest places where they felt hopeless, and to see them on the other side of that, they don't recognize that person. It's called mental illness for a reason. You're not in your normal state at that moment when you're going through that level of depression, anxiety, whatever it is that you're struggling with. Reach out to get somebody that can truly help you work your way through these issues.
You wouldn't wait until your car was on the side of the road totally broken down. If the engine light came on or you knew that it needed an oil change, you would go address that before you lost your car. So same thing here. If you're starting to have those emerging symptoms of anger and sleep and substance use stuff changing how you're experiencing your life and your happiness, go get that checked out. Get it fixed before it becomes catastrophic.
I say this all the time. I consider everybody in this local my brother or my sister. We might not get along, we might not work well together, but when it comes down to it, there's not a person in this local I would not stand up for and help. And I preach that to every young apprentice. There's no doubt in my mind, you pick up your phone, let someone know that you need help, you will get help, I promise, I promise.
And if you are in crisis right now or worried about someone and their risk of suicide, do not hesitate. Call 988. That is the 911 for mental health emergencies, and they're going to help you come up with a plan.
Construction is the most resourceful industry in the world. We build the biggest bridges, the biggest buildings, things that seem impossible. This task seems impossible at times, but it's not.
As craft people, we're always faced with challenges. That's just what we do. We look at something, we figure it out, and we conquer it.
Now is the time. Now is the time to move from complacency or even just awareness into action. Lives are at stake, and we can make a difference.
Having experienced some of the darkest places of life for me personally to where I am today, it's a blessing. I'm blessed with an amazing family and opportunities every day. So yeah, life is great. I never would have expected to be sitting here or in a role elevating the conversation around mental health and suicide and substance misuse and the message of you're not alone, and that there's help and you don't have to do it by yourself.
Be safe, MCAA.
To learn more about MCAA's safety resources and over 24 safety and health videos, visit mcaa.org/safety.